Well, originally I was going to make a video yesterday about now Hurricane Helene. However, it was only a tropical storm and it really wasn't doing much. But as you see in this freeze frame of the satellite of Hurricane Helene, now I'm going to put this into motion. It is a Category 1 hurricane and is projected to hit the Big Bend, Florida, near Tallahassee, around that area. And I think it's been intensifying pretty rapidly here, I would say, over the last couple of days slash few hours. If we take a look at the satellite here on the freeze frame, you can see a lot of convection here. But one thing to duly note is it is partially on the Yucatan Peninsula, which is slowing down that rapid intensification or the initial intensification process. As before this, it was set to go in between these two, which is what caused every model to be saying it's going to be a Category 4 or 5. It all The models have dimmed it down and have got a pretty good gauge, I would say, on the threat for intensity wise. It's expected to make landfall up here, right in this region up here, as a Category 3 high end Category 3, low end Category 4 hurricane. Now, what that means is there is 10 to 15 feet of storm surge expected within the Big Bend, and there will be wind gusts of, I think, sustained of about 100 and maximum up to 145, or sustained is about 120 and maximum will be 145 or 135 for wind gusts. However, that's not the key elements. What's key is these next couple of hours slash next day or so is, as it's in the Gulf right here. What's going to happen? Is it going to we're going to see rapid intensification, whether we like it or not. We're going to see it rapidly intensify as it bolts towards Florida, but how rapidly will it be? Will this kind of coincidence or accident of it brushing up against the Yucatan Peninsula coastline, will this bring will this bring a change in the forecast? Right now, that's not shown, but we're going to take a look at all that here later in the videos. But starting off, let's look at the official National Hurricane Center um forecast for the path. All right, so this is the official from the National Hurricane Center track here, and you can see here what I was talking about. This is the tropical storm force wind field highlighted in orange, and you can see right here in the Big Bend, you can see there's all the red. That red represents hurricane warning. And what's precisely is going to happen is it's going to make landfall right up here by Tallahassee and near Tallahassee and Cedar Key, Florida, all throughout this Big Bend. However, there will still be storm surge much to the south. There is expected storm surge of 4 to 6 feet along, near Tampa Bay and south. And the further south you go on the west coast, the less it is. So the Keys, which are already starting to experience the outer bands of this hurricane, the Keys, they're only expected 1 to 3 feet. But if you're up here in the red and the further south you go, the less it is. But if you're somewhere in the blue, and the further up you go, the more it will be, vice versa. So, but it is expected to be a major hurricane by 7 a.m. Thursday, and then by 7 p.m. Thursday, it's expected to make landfall as a major hurricane. So by 7 a.m. Thursday, it will, as from this latest National Hurricane Center update, excuse me, it is expected to become a major hurricane. By 7 p.m. Thursday, p.m., not a.m. p.m., by 7 p.m. Thursday, it is expected to make landfall as a major hurricane. So there's a little bit of room for further intensification in between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Thursday. And we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at where it is currently, We're going to take a look at where it is currently, and we're going to take a look at what all of the models have to say for the track, like the expected track. Because it still could wobble a little further, 30 miles to the east or even further to the west. it's still too far. It's still a little bit too far out to get a compacted landfall track. But and then we're gonna take a look at future tracks and future models of what it could possibly be. So let's look at the where it is currently right now through a low pressure system map. All right, so this is the map of where it is currently. As you see, this is the exact location of where it is. As you see in red up here, L marks the storm location as of 12Z September 25th, which is the latest update. And you can see it. I mean, it is just barely off the coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Right now, it is not expected to hit the Yucatan like directly, like make landfall. As it is a Category One, it is not expected to make direct landfall as a Cat One. However, it is going to be stay pretty close until it gets out to the Gulf. And as it stays, close, that does slow down that intensification process a little bit. It does slow it down. If it would have came off down in the Caribbean and stayed in between and didn't come closer to Cuba or the Yucatan, we would be seeing easily a Category 4 or 5 come Thursday. But because it's closer to the Yucatan, um, it hasn't made direct landfall, but because it's closer, it's going to be a little bit weaker around category high end category 3, low end category 4, what they're expecting it to be as of today, Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. So let's go ahead and take a look at the all of the models and see if and see the track of what they say it's going to happen over the next couple of days or as it gets closer to landfall. Okay, so these are all of the models here. These are full all of the models here, and you can see they are agreeing on that exact track. I mean, over the last few days though, we've had these model tracks here shift further and further west. Initially, it was here, then it came out to the Big Bend, now it's here. So we have seen it starting to shift further and further west. However, as of the latest update from today, we do have a pretty good pinpoint that it is going to make landfall uh, pretty much right into Tallahassee and kind of that right in the Big Bend area come around 7 p.m. Thursday, like I said, give or take a couple hours. From there, we could see an effect called the Fujiwara effect, which a summary of it is basically there's a low pressure system that's bringing severe weather that brought severe weather to Kentucky and Ohio Valley yesterday, and that trough is expected to keep moving, but it's also expected to make a hit with the post tropical remnants of Hurricane Helene. And what's going to happen is they will basically fuse and become one big trough that will just continue to move out. But it will bring potentially catastrophic flooding up here north of Atlanta, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, Western Kentucky areas in North Carolina, South Carolina are expected to see a general overview now of about 20 inches of rain, which is catastrophic flooding. So if that's actually true, then that would be catastrophic. But like I said, that's over 72 to 120 hours out, even 144 hours out. So I wouldn't worry about flooding just yet. But for landfall wise, we have a pretty good idea of where it's going to go. But let's take a look at it. Let's take a look at a intensity guide now to see how strong or how strong it's going to be on landfall, or at least what the models think of as of right now. All right, and this is the HAFSA model here. As you can see, this actually is having it as at a 977 right about now, around this time. This may be a few hours ahead, as it's currently about located right here, give or take a few miles or couple, give or take a few miles. But you can already see this model already starts to signal for a strong strengthening process well before it gets even closer to land. You can see that does hold up from about here, which is actually where it is right now. From about here, it explodes here, and then from here, this actually has it getting down to a 921, which is a strong category 4, low end category 5. Because a category 5 is a 1919 or lower millibar low pressure, or millibar system. By probably 12 p.m. Thursday, I want to say, this is already signaling a 934, which is a category 4. With this, so I said that HAFSB was overplaying it. This is actually way worse. I had not looked at the models till just about now, or a few, not just before now, but like I looked at these earlier this morning, and it did not show anything like this. You can see right as landfall, if this were to happen, has a more circular, kind of well-rounded eye, has a beautiful eye shape and eye wall, has an inner eye wall, outer eye wall, a good shape all around. This would be a a textbook category 4 hurricane. However, the more likely process would be would the more likely one would be the HAFSB run, as this is just simply overplaying it. This is just, way too strong. Although but I mean, this does leave room for possibility. Just this shows, anything can happen with that explosive process from here to here. If it really kind of gets up and going, if it really explodes, I mean, this could very well be a possibility. Not trying to scare anyone, but I don't think this is going to happen because this also has it taking it more into the Bigger Bend area, as we saw in the National Hurricane Center. It's going to take it more over here. So I think this model is way off, but it's just something we have to look at to kind of keep a basis on, just keep a basis on, so to speak. But I think the more likelihood would be the HAFSB model. But yeah, so yeah, finally, we're gonna take a look at the flooding potentials up in Georgia, like I had talked about briefly. We're gonna just take a brief look at that, but I wouldn't. Just gonna take a brief look at that. So let's take a look at that right now. All right, so this is the latest tropical storm model guidance intensity. This is what we look at when we're forecasting for intensity wise, and you can see it's already category 1. So this is the older one. The 18Z is coming out as we speak, as of this recording, but it's not fully out yet, so it's not good. It's not very reliable. So I'm just going to use an older one to kind of get a basis on. But the 18Z is likely going to likely start to narrow down if it's going to be a Cat 4 or Cat 3. As you see on the 12Z, you can see a lot of the models kind of are spread out. You can see some are hanging in that category 2, or that high end category 2 to low to mid cat 3. Um, as you see there, others are saying it's going to just be straight up of extremely low end Cat 4, extremely high end Category 3 hurricane upon landfall. You can see it's still pretty a wide variety still. As I mean, we are still multiple days out. We're not multiple days up. We are still about a day ish out from landfall, but definitely the 18Z and 00Z will have a better understanding of how strong it's going to be, especially 7 a.m. Thursday when that update comes out. When it's really undergoing that rapid intensification process, we're going to really see how strong it's going to be landfall. Speaking of which, let's take a look at two hurricane models that show the potential outcomes of both Cat 4 and Cat 3 here. So let's get of both outcomes of both of those. So let's take a look at that right now. All right, so this is a one of a hurricane models called the HAFSB model, as you see right up here. And this model is a hurricane model. It's strictly used for hurricane models, and this is what it's supposed to be like in a few hours. As you saw, it's currently located down here. I just have the model set a little bit further up to see when the intensification or rapid intensification process happens. So this is the HAFSB. We're also going to take a look at the HAFSA model, um, to see what do these models have an agreement of on how strong it's going to be. So I mean, right off the bat, you can see it's already predicting a 976 millibar hurricane, which is a category 1. If we run this ahead, you can see it drops pretty significantly. Goes from 972 to 969. And there is nothing out in the head of this thing from slowing it down from its rapid intensification process. It would be different if there was like a trough or something already out in front of us, or like a lot of wind shear that could tear this thing apart and insert dry air. Problem is there's none of that. And you can see from it going from 969, it drops to a 958, which is Cat 3 status. Category 3 status. You can see it really starts to develop eye wall and eye. This is where we're gonna have to watch. If that eye kind of collapses in on itself, that's gonna signal rapid intensification. as it moves up closer to Florida. If it kind of holds this eye for a little longer, kind of holds it up, doesn't really throw it under like this model well, not throw it under, um, then that's gonna signal for a weaker hurricane. This is just a millibar and wind speed model, so we're not gonna see like on satellite the eye actually collapse. This is just strictly to see the shape and the millibar to see how strong it's gonna be. As the satellite could go anyways. But I mean, this thing really does explode. It goes from a 969 all the way down to a 947, which is a mid to high end category three. See, it really starts to develop a nice eye wall here, pinkish colors, which do signal 110 gusts or wind speed within the eye. But this is out in the ocean. But you can see it drops even further to a 930. See, it rapidly explodes here from 972 all the way. This is right before landfall. See, this is landfall. It makes landfalls at 930, which is a category four. Category about this model actually has it a little bit stronger. This has it as a mid-range category four hurricane for landfall, and you can see it has a well-defined eye wall back here. Well, I'd say a well-defined eye, not perfectly circular like a strong Cat 5 would, but that's good. That means it's not going to be stronger than let's say category 5. Excuse me, but it does have overall as a well-rounded shape upon landfall, which does signal for a strong hurricane, and the millibars also signal that. But you can see this model has it just rapidly exploding. This hurricane is pretty fast too. So from it going from 969 to 930, this model, I think this model overplays it a little bit. I think this is signaling for a worst case scenario run. Let's take a look at the HAFSA to see what that's saying. I'm gonna say this model is definitely worst case scenario. I don't think it's gonna go over a category. I don't think it's gonna go over a low end cat 4, which is a 938. But let's go ahead and take a look at the HAFSA model now. All right, so these are the total precipitation amounts right here. You can see down here upon landfall, these brighter blues indicate 10 to 20 inches of rain around, give or take a couple inches. But so obviously on landfall we're gonna see a lot of rain, but surprisingly, with this hurricane, at least for landfall, that isn't the main threat. The main threat are going to be tornadoes, which there's an enhanced risk of severe weather day two, so Friday after land, or yes, for Friday, so after landfall, when that Fujiwara effect takes place, where the troughs combined, that's going to pummel the North Carolinas for severe weather wise. But I'll get further into detail about that likely tomorrow, either after landfall or just before landfall. But anyway, you can see uh where it's kind of mountainous and also where that Fujiwara effect begins to take place, where it takes that turn where that other trough is located currently, or I know give or take a few miles. A lot of rain's gonna fall, and it's gonna kind of sit kind of all over northern Georgia, north of Atlanta, extending back up into Tennessee, even into portions of North Carolina, and even West Virginia a little bit. And even probably a little bit of portions of Western Kentucky as well. But that's why there's a high risk of flooding issued by the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center. High risk for this area tomorrow. Definitely stay weather aware tomorrow for folks that live in this whole area between West Virginia, Western Kentucky, all the way down to north of Atlanta, Georgia, especially in North Carolina, Tennessee, and northern Georgia. You guys could see a ton of rain, which could be catastrophic. Turn around, don't drown. So that's all I have for you guys today. I will likely do another video either before or after landfall tomorrow. Most likely after landfall tomorrow. Kind of not give a recap because it'll still be too soon, but give a more extensive look on the severe weather threat for the North Carolina, South Carolina, and that flooding threat. So I will see you guys there. Be safe, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Or, yeah, most likely tomorrow.